Fear my power, you puny mortals! What's up guys, Acer Thorn here, and welcome to my top 4 list of quick and easy ways to become OP in Skyrim. These 5 tips do not require any elaborate setup, well beyond getting your enchanting and alchemy up to 100 each. But once you reach that point, these tips will require only a couple of steps each. For that matter, only one of these tricks will actually require even that much. The other 3 can be done without even needing to grind up your alchemy and enchanting. So if you want to dominate the land of Skyrim, to conquer the world just like Tiber's Septim did and place it under your iron-fisted rule, then follow these 4 easy steps to become an all-powerful demigod in the shortest amount of time possible. We're talking about total magic immunity, not just 85% magic resistance. We're talking about the ability to get literally hundreds of levels within minutes. We're talking about having an entire army at your beck and call, leveling entire cities in seconds. We're talking about having people on the floor above you dying simply by standing over you without you having to do a damn thing. Yeah, we're taking the Luigi approach to Skyrim. You win by doing absolutely nothing. Before I get underway, however, I want to give credit to Fudge Muppet for coming up with a similar concept, one that involved making maximum use out of the Necromage Restoration skill perk. While this build sounds awesome and OP, it still requires quite a bit of setup and preparation. I'm going to be showing you guys 4 tips on how to get this level of OP godhood in only a few minutes of prep time for each tactic. So with that out of the way, let's get this party started. Number 4. Atronach with Fortify Restoration and Fortify Destruction. Magic resistance in Skyrim is capped at 85%. However, what if I told you that there was a way to bypass that cap and obtain 100% immunity to magic? To such degree that you can literally just stand in fire geysers and not take any damage at all. First, you'll need 100 enchanting and 100 alchemy. You'll also need all 5 ranks of the Enchanter and Alchemist perks, as well as the Insightful Enchanter perk, the Benefactor and Physician perks in the Alchemy skill tree, and once you've got those, head over to an alchemy station and make yourself a potion that fortifies your restoration by at least 100%. You will need 100% alchemy fortification enchantments to get that far. From there, hightail it over to the Atronach Stone. When you reach the stone, make a hard save just in case you fuck it up. Drink the potion and then immediately activate the Atronach Stone to receive its blessing. The Atronach Stone normally provides 50% spell absorption, but if you have your restoration fortified via a potion, the effects of the Atronach Stone will themselves be fortified by that same percentage. Because you're fortifying your restoration by more than 100%, the spell absorption effect of the stone will be more than doubled. Use the console command player.getav_absorb_chance, and you can clearly see that your spell absorption is now greater than 100%. Because spell absorption has no hard limit like magic resistance does, this effectively makes you impervious to anything that is registered in the game engine as a spell, including spit attacks from spiders and chorus, weapon enchantments, fire traps, and even diseases. Yeah, you don't even need to be a werewolf to have a passive immunity to disease. Your 100% spell absorption already does that for you. There are, however, 2 caveats to this approach. The first is that the damage magicka regen effect is fortified right alongside the spell absorption, which means you won't get any magical regeneration on your own. However, this can easily be circumvented simply by wearing a Fortified Magicka Regen enchantment. Seeing as you no longer have any need for a magic resistance enchantment, you should have room. To get around that, you could alternatively drink a Fortified Destruction potion immediately before taking the Atronach perk for the Alteration skill tree. Yeah, the Atronach perk is governed by the Destruction school, not the Alteration school for some reason. So drinking a Fortified Destruction potion before taking that perk will improve the absorb chance. A potion with a magnitude of 67% or higher can cause the Atronach perk to provide more than 50% spell absorption. Then you can simply take the Atronox stone without any fortifications, get the other 50% you need to have 100% spell absorption, and still have half your normal magicka regeneration. The second caveat to this tactic is that you absorb your own conjured creatures. This means that familiars, Atronox, Dremora Lords, and even summoned ghosts like Lucien Lachance or the heroes of Sovngarde will not actually be summoned. However, Artifact from the Dawnguard DLC can still be summoned, and dead bodies can be resurrected using reanimate spells, so you should still be in the clear. Of course, in order to get the Atronox perk in the Alteration skill tree, you need to get 100 in Alteration. Well, what if I told you that you could reach that level in mere seconds, and make the skill legendary and make it 100 for a second time in mere seconds, getting literally hundreds of levels in mere minutes? That leads me to number 3. Telekinesis Fast Travel. Fast traveling is a means of getting from point A to point B quickly, right? However, all the game mechanics are supposed to be disabled while you're fast traveling, right? Enemies don't attack you, you don't discover new locations, and you don't get any skill ups, right? Well, 2 of those 3 are correct, but in Skyrim, you can indeed increase your alteration skill while you fast travel. First, get a copy of the telekinesis spell. In vanilla Skyrim, there are no guaranteed instances of this tome in the game, but in Dawnguard, you can get a tome in Redwater Cave, located inside the cell where you're placed in after you drink the Redwater skooma. They put it in there so you can obtain the key to the cell even if you don't have any lockpicks. In the Dragonborn DLC, you can find one amidst a stack of bestiality porn in this. Anyway, once you've got the spell, you'll need to make alteration spells free to cast. By this point, you should know how to make spells free to cast. There are hundreds of videos on YouTube teaching you how to do that. If you need my help to figure that out, then this video isn't for you. Maybe you'll find these guys to be closer to your age demographic. So now that you've got your alteration achievements and you've got the telekinesis spell, travel to Rifted. Drop an item from your inventory, preferably that copy of the Lusty Argonian Maid that you swiped from your parents' room when you were 13. Yeah, I know what you were doing with that book. Yeah, I see you. I'm always watching you. Once it's on the floor, you can cast the telekinesis spell on it. Hold that spell, then immediately enter into the map and fast travel to Markarth. As soon as you see the loading screen, you'll see that you're instantly eligible for another level up. Once you reach Markarth, you can enter the skills menu and see that your alteration skill has increased all the way up to 100, even if it was level 15 when you departed. Simply reset your alteration skill back to 15 using the legendary skills feature Rinse and Repeat. You'll get up to level 500 in about an hour. Of course, becoming so OP is certainly nice and all, but you still have to actually hit your opponents to kill them. What if people died just by getting within 50 feet of you? That leads me to number 2, Flame Cloak Dual Casting. On the surface, the Flame Cloak spell seems to be a fairly mediocre spell, but its hidden values make the spell downright godly. It does 8 points of damage per second, which alone seems rather bland. Not to mention, they have to be within melee range, which means they're likely going to be kicking your ass while they're taking mediocre damage, so it certainly isn't a substitute for active offense, right? However, this spell is subject to quite a few unique buffs that stack with each other. Combine these buffs together and you get an ungodly powerful spell that kills enemies in seconds simply by being close to you. Look at this footage. Bandits on the other side of the wall are dying without me even knowing exactly where they are. You become a literal ball of death. First, you'll want to dual cast the Flame Cloak spell. Surprisingly, this actually increases the radius that the spell operates, not the magnitude. The radius of the spell is multiplied by 2.2, meaning that it triggers whenever you get within 22 feet of an enemy, not just 10. See, the reason for this is because the Flame Cloak spell is actually 2 spells in one. The first spell, the one you cast, is applied directly to the player. It doesn't have a magnitude at all, because it doesn't do anything by itself other than give the cool looking fiery aura. Instead, its radius is the only part of the spell that dual casting even could amplify. Then there's a second spell. In the creation kit, it is listed as Flame Cloak DMG, and this is the fire damage spell that's applied to enemies that get within range. But you aren't dual casting that spell, you're only dual casting the first one. So an increase in range is a nice touch, but it's still only doing a measly 8 damage per second. What about an increase in DPS? Next, you'll need a potion that fortifies your destruction. Unlike enchantments, potions that fortify a magic school actually increase the potency of those spells, not simply make them cheaper to cast. By drinking such a potion immediately before casting the spell, you'll increase the DPS from the Flame Cloak DMG dramatically. But in addition to that, it also fortifies the radius by the same percentage, so a 22-foot radius becomes a whopping 55-foot radius when drinking a Fortified Destruction potion that fortifies your skill by 150%, something you can very easily acquire just by wearing 100% alchemy fortification enchantments and having every relevant alchemy skill perk. Drink this potion before casting the Cloak, and it will not only increase the Flame Cloak DMG spell's damage per second, but also increase the original Flame Cloak spell's radius, because again, that first spell doesn't technically have a magnitude in the first place. If you've already got a 22-foot radius from dual casting the Cloak spell, a fortification of 150% will increase the radius to an astonishing 55 feet. So people are dying left, right, and center all around you. But let's take that even further and increase the DPS even more. In this footage you can see bandits dying all around me, but you can also see me holding another spell. That's not just because I want to be ready for whoever comes around the corner. No, holding a dual cast spell increases the DPS of your Flame Cloak DMG spell, the same as if it were itself being dual cast. And since the Flame Cloak DMG spell is technically listed in the game as a concentration spell, holding both attack buttons down will cause this dual casting to apply indefinitely. Now, all of these tips that I just told you about work equally well for Flame, Frost, and Lightning Cloaks. However, Flame Cloak wins out over the other two because of one extra DPS increase I haven't told you about yet. If you acquire the Augmented Flames and Intense Flames perk, your Flame Cloak DMG spell, the second one that you don't directly cast, will have a Fierce spell attached to it. If you subsequently take the Aspect of Terror perk from the Illusion skill tree, then the Aspect of Terror perk will increase the magnitude of all flame spells that have the Intense Flames effect attached to them. The Flame Cloak DMG spell is one such spell, so when enemies get within your 55-foot radius, the Aspect of Terror spell will provide one final DPS boost of 10 points of fire damage per second. So now you're doing about 76 damage per second to enemies, not by actively attacking them, but simply by getting within a 50-foot radius. These bandits are literally flying too close to the sun. Of course, all those dead bodies left in your wake is a great showing of your godlike power, but you know the old adage, waste not, want not. Instead of just picking the loot off these dead bodies and then leaving them for the crows, why not actually make some use out of them? This leads me to... And the #1 exploit to become massively OP in Skyrim is... the Ritual Stone with the Ethereal Crown. The Ritual Stone is already significantly unbalanced even in the vanilla game. It resurrects dead bodies up to level 75, whereas most other reanimate spells in the game only work up to level 40. Also, the creatures you resurrect don't disintegrate after the spell expires, allowing you to resurrect them again. What's even better is that it doesn't even contribute to your total summons count, allowing you to raise as many of the dead at one time as your computer is capable of processing. The only thing to balance this stone out is the fact that you can only use powers once a day. However, that can easily be circumvented simply by killing 1 or 2 enemies at a time, raising them, killing a few more enemies at a time, waiting 24 hours, resurrect the second wave of enemies, rinse and repeat. Before long, you'll have a massive zombie army ready to fight alongside you, raising everyone from bandits to Forsworn to giants to mammoths to hagravens to Draugr death lords.
Feel my power, you pure immortals!
Of course, that caveat about having to wait 24 hours in between each resurrection is more of an annoyance than an actual hindrance, but it's still annoying. Wouldn't it be awesome if you could just bypass that cooldown period altogether? And I'm not talking about a mod that simply changes the ritual stone to a lesser power. I'm talking about official Bethesda DLC. When you download the Dawn Guard DLC, you get another quest, unrelated to the Dawn Guard faction, called Lost to the Ages. At the conclusion of that quest, you're able to create one of 3 artifacts: the Ethereum Crown, the Ethereum Shield, and the Ethereum Staff. Of the 3, the Crown is the only one that isn't complete, utter horse shit. So 99.99998% of us are going with the Crown. The Ethereum Crown all allows you to have 2 standing stones at one time. There's plenty of tutorials on how to use the Crown on YouTube, so I won't bore you with the details here. Anyway, what you want to actually do is store the ritual stone power inside the Crown. Preferably, you'll want to have the Atronach stone as your primary standing stone, so you can have 100% magic immunity. If you store the ritual stone power inside the ethereal crown, then unequip and re-equip the crown, that will actually reset the 24-hour cooldown period, allowing you to reuse the ritual stone power immediately, even in situations that don't normally allow you to wait 24 hours, like in the middle of battle. Let some people die by getting within 55 feet of you, resurrect them to serve you in undeath, have them kill some more people, resurrect those guys to serve you in undeath, rinse and repeat. Build up hundreds, if not thousands, of undead soldiers with your army growing steadily everywhere you go. More undead, more zombies until your computer explodes like a frag grenade. Oh, it'll be worth it, trust me. Follow these 4 steps and you won't just be clearing out entire dungeons within minutes. You'll conquer all of Tamriel, just like Tiber Septim did, with your army of undead that you killed just by close proximity to them, and all the while the mage's spells will have no effect on you. Before long, every race on Nirn will be forced to bow to your absolute rule, and you won't even need the Numidium to do it. And that'll do it for today's video. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe for more discussions of your favorite video games. Also check out some of my Let's Plays on this channel, as they constitute the vast majority of the content that I produce. In the meantime, however, I am Acer Thorn, and I will see you guys later.